It was a quiet Tuesday night. Nothing unusual, nothing out of place. The streetlights flickered like they always did, and most of the neighborhood had already gone to sleep. But at 11:42 p.m., one house was still awake. And by morning, everything would change. At 6:13 the next morning, a neighbor walking their dog noticed something strange. The front door was slightly open. Not wide, not broken, just open. There were no signs of forced entry, no shattered windows, no alarms triggered. The living room looked untouched, almost staged, but something felt wrong. Security footage later showed a shadow moving past the kitchen window just before midnight. No face, no clear shape, just movement. And then, nothing. By noon, the house was no longer just a home. It was a crime scene. Before the night of the disappearance, the family seemed ordinary. Chris Watts was described by neighbors as quiet and reserved. Shanann Watts shared joyful updates online, documenting family outings, birthday parties, and her pregnancy. Everything looked perfect, but appearances can be deceiving. Even the most ordinary lives can hide tensions no one notices: financial pressure, private arguments, and secrets that remain unseen. On that fateful night, those hidden cracks would collide in ways the neighborhood could never imagine. On the morning of August 13, 2018, Shanann Watts missed her scheduled doctor's appointment. Her phone, her car, her belongings all remained at home. Neighbors noticed the front door slightly ajar. No forced entry, no signs of struggle. When investigators arrived, they found the house quiet, almost too quiet. Chris Watts spoke to local news, pleading for his family's safe return. "I just want them back," he said. But detectives noticed small inconsistencies in his timeline. Each interview, each statement seemed slightly off, enough to raise suspicion. After the disappearance was reported, neighbors handed over security footage from their cameras. It showed Chris Watts backing his truck into the driveway in the early hours of the morning. He appeared alone, loading something. Investigators pressed him for answers. His story shifted, then shifted again. Under pressure, the truth was beginning to crack through. In the interrogation room, detectives confronted Chris Watts with mounting evidence: phone records, GPS data, contradictions in his statements. Hours passed. Then came the breaking point. Chris finally confessed, but not the full story. At first, he tried to shift the blame, claiming Shanann had harmed the children and that he had acted in rage. But the truth was darker, much darker. Chris Watts had murdered his pregnant wife. Then, in a shocking act, he drove his two daughters to an oil site owned by his employer. There, he ended their lives as well, and disposed of their bodies in oil tanks. The nation was horrified. How could someone so ordinary commit something so monstrous? In November 2018, Chris Watts pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. No trial, no public defense, just silence. Experts later described him as emotionally detached, conflict avoidant, and obsessed with maintaining a perfect image. Instead of confronting his problems, he chose annihilation. Sometimes evil doesn't look violent. It looks quiet. It smiles on camera. It waves to neighbors. And it waits for the perfect moment. This wasn't just a crime. It was the destruction of an entire family by the person they trusted most. This is Dark Crime Stories, where we uncover the truth hidden behind perfect images. Subscribe for more cases that prove not everything is what it seems.